It's time once again for a Dougie Town Hall, and we'll see what kind of action Dougie got for us today.
Good morning, everybody, on another great Portland area sunny day. It is 10 o'clock, and we're going to get underway. I think
Pooty moved his lamp. The lamp isn't there.
For today, we got a pretty interesting and exciting agenda for you. Firstly, just to remind everybody that we will be recording this, and it'll be posted later for those who are out driving buses or trains or doing other things that can't listen in. So this will be available for you later, per normal. So anyway, I hope everybody's been staying cool, particularly over the last week.
I like this Dougie. What is it, a golf shirt? What is this? Is this a golf shirt, Pooty?
And a real big shout out to all the ride guides and all the folks working on the steel bridge right now, in particular last weekend and early this week with the really hot days. So big thanks and great work. But we will talk about the steel bridge specifically in just a little bit. So for today's town hall, again, as you could probably tell from my note out yesterday, really want to continue to have these every week, 2 weeks, but we want to make sure it's value-based, not just to have them. So just a quick shout out to say, if you have ideas or topics you think would be interested for the whole organization, please send them in to myself, Deanne Sanders, JC Venata. You probably know the usual suspects on this, so and we'll see if we can work into the lineup. So anyhow, today we've got some great folks joining the town hall today. I am going to give a brief, my normal brief agency update on several topics, particularly COVID related. And then we really want to get into starting the conversation around how do we reimagine public safety on the Trimet system. So we've got some great panelists to help us through that. And we also want to make sure we take people's questions on that and any other topics later to come. So anyhow, in terms of updates, the safety panels, hopefully a number of weeks down the road, we won't actually have to talk about what the update on safety panels is, because then hopefully we'll all be done. But the installation continues. The end of this week, we will have 499 buses installed with these bus panels, bus barriers, whichever you want.
Boy, that took them a long time, didn't it? Wow. It's already fall.
I call them. They're being delivered literally in waves now, so big shout out to the maintenance team thank you for going all out to help get our operators those protections, which again, it's a supplemental protection. It's not a primary protection. Got to wear our masks as we're all in ride guides and operators and doing cleaners and such out there today. So they are coming. The permanent mask dispensers are also being installed on the vehicles by the end of the weekend. REM should have them installed in all the trains, and Powell is the first bus garage to receive them, and they just finished their installation yesterday, so yay, Powell. The next shipment is expected this week, and then Center and Merlot are up next to begin their installation. So big thanks to all the teams that are working so hard on this effort.
Oh, wait.
Again,
I'll probably get another copyright strike for that.
It's being done locally, which is really cool. Anytime we can do that, particularly in this economic time, that's all good. So we want to keep everybody safe on the vehicles, not only our operators, but also our customers as well. Speaking of masks, I want to give a shout to the Powell Operator Safety Committee for coming up with the idea to produce these informational tear sheets for operators that are in multiple languages that just let people know that masks are required on board and they can help themselves to a mask if they...
But they are not required. They are required, but not really.
If they need one. So really great idea, great initiative. So it's an example where ideas They have to go through a vetting process, but please send ideas that help us all be safe the best we possibly can. So very appreciative of the team's ideas and efforts to get that idea. The implementation. So really cool. August 7th, Wes, our commuter service, they will have hand sanitizer dispensers on all their vehicles. So great job to that team. They do it all. They really do. They have a small group of people, but very talented and really capable. So thanks for getting that done for yourselves and our customers as well.
I feel like I'm at a pep rally.
And as well, I don't know if any of you have heard about the Bucket Brigade. So this is done by facilities management. They put together our own disinfecting wipes because the supply of the finished product, the little bottles of, there are containers of wipes, the supply chain is not reliable again. And so this is...
American capitalism can't even supply us with what we need. Yay. But it's the socialism that will kill us.
There's a recent article in Express Line about this effort. It's really innovative. I'm real proud of, I just love creativity like that. And I call it the MacGyver approach of if you have a problem, how do you work around it to get to a new kind of solution? So great job for the team in stores, purchasing facilities, who played a really important role in help get to an outcome and not just accept the problem. So to make this happen. So some we can overcome, sometimes we always can't, but this is a great one. Again, and final safety feature I'll note today is the trade out of windows for our 2500s to our 2900s. So the 2900s have some windows that open for better ventilation.
Yeah, I thought that they did that because they were like, oh, we need to get open windows. But I think it happened because of the OSHA complaint. That's why they did it. It wasn't their idea. Why would I think they would be proactive? That's stupid me.
During the pandemic. The Merlo maintenance team was really instrumental, worked really diligently to complete the work and finished it last week. So great job to you at Merlo. So for helping get that all done for our operators' benefits, and our customers' benefits as well. Fall service changes. It is here. Whoever thought summer is now moving to the back end here. It's just around the corner. This coming Sunday, August 30th, Sunday. It'll be interesting to see how the ridership numbers are impacted with these service increases. So we are going back where we reduced the bus service from 100%, our normal base, down to 80%, about a 20% reduction. We're now going to take the risk, and we're going to put another 10% back out in service, back to 90%. So we're going to have to monitor this closely. It's not a guarantee it will continue, but we're going in to see what we can hopefully use it to attract.
Yeah, well, we already go over this all the time on the Twitter, how much bullshit this is. Plenty of money out there. Capital projects are flowing. Zero cuts for them. Zero cuts for capital projects. We all know capital projects is how the elites steal the money from the fucking taxes. That's the way they do that. Kind of like the stock market, they pump, the Fed pumps all this money in the stock market. Who gets the money? The 10% that own 90% of the stocks. Oh, by the way, the NASDAQ is up like 11,800. It's like it's fucking riots, unemployment, COVID. There's a hurricane. It's like tulip mania. Can you imagine buying stocks long right now? I mean, I suppose, I guess I don't know whether it's 100% rigged or people are actually buying this shit, and I can't even believe it.
More of our customers out, so we're going to monitor this real closely. So, but thanks for everybody's help on that. And also want to thank the team who made these service changes possible. Often we just see the bus operator, we see the train operator, we see the cleaners, all of the frontline staff that do an amazing job for us. But the service planning team to make these changes possible are really smart people. For those who work with them, they really know it. They do a great job for us to manage all the sign-up sheets and the coordination of that with the service changes themselves. It's a complex Rubik's Cube, or I call it simply complex. So big thanks to them for all the mental mind power they bring to managing this complex network that we have. And last but not least, just want to provide an update on the steel bridge, the Max Improvement Project. We're literally over a week away from the completion.
Oh, good. Get that out.
I only have to go back a number of months.
How many millions were spent on that? I don't remember. I have
a bunch of us sat in a boardroom going, are we going to
500 million?
And there was a sort of hush that went over the boardroom going, yikes, because we didn't know what was ahead. We knew ridership was going to be down for sure, and that was a benefit, but there was a lot of risks and complexities that come to this. So to the whole team, I really want to give a great shout out. So this has been a labor of love for months and years for many people. It's going great. We're on time. We're on budget. We're squeaking in on the contingency of time, but we are there. I was out there yesterday after I did my ride guide work. And by the way, it's still not too late to sign up for ride guides. But also did a tour with Sean Batty and Steve Witter on the steel bridge, and the team is just rocking it. They really are. And so
the team is real rocking.
It's proceeding really well, and we're going to end up strong. And I just want to remind people, the last day is a really complex configuration of changes to get us through to when we're finished. So if you have a ride guide slot, you might be able to free up to help out. Please consider it. So that's a really important day for us all. So we started strong. We're finishing strong as well. So it's not over until it's over. So thanks for your help on that. So, I know I've been out, I think I've done 5 ride guide shifts now. And, it really takes you away from this box of Zoom or WebEx that we all do. And I really encourage people to get out there, touch, feel the product, talk to the supervisors, the operators, thank them.
Feel the product. Did you hear that? Feel the product. I don't like that. That's. I don't like the product. Like a businessman.
Interact with the customers. The public loves to see us all out there anytime we possibly can. So find this as an excuse to be out there with the public, because after all, why we exist because we take care of others. Not only take care of ourselves, but we take care of others, and that's our customer. And in today's world where the ridership has disappeared for all the right safety reasons, we're going to have to fight harder and harder to give people reasons to come back for our own revenues, for our own job protections and such. So being in the customer mindset is more vital, I think, more so than probably the history of this agency. So find reasons to connect with the customer, even though you may work behind a screen or otherwise. So quick shout out to being close to the customer. So anyhow, now to the topic at hand, reimagining public safety. So as we all know, this is such a critical topic, and I'm really proud of the inclusive process that Trimet has a pretty darn good legacy of doing on, whether it be Southwest Corridor, orange lines, blue line, purple, pink, yellow, rouge, whatever color you pick. The agency is very good at really putting best steps forward to include others in establishing policy, strategy, projects, etc. So this is no exception. So we're off and running on looking at how do we reimagine our public safety in our system. And so somewhere there you hear words like defund police. I don't like those words personally. Those have an unintended meaning that those are bad people. We have some amazing police officers that have mitigated problems, responded to problems in the years ahead. So for me, this is not about getting rid of police. This is about managing safety security in its broadest sense, so everybody feels welcome, whether you're left-handed, right-handed, what religion are, what color you are, where you come from, what country you come from. It's welcoming for everybody. And this is a moment in time where we need to stop it.
It's just all these empty words, okay? He's like a politician. We know he supports the police state. We already know where he actually stands. Okay, and he's just, it's like listening to a politician.
and reflect that are there adjustments we need to make as an agency to how do we do that better. We only have to drive around the city or just walk around the city if you're out ride guiding. The homeless shelters that we've become sort of a Woodstock.
Shelters, they're homeless. They're all over the streets,
out
Dougie.
here right now. So we have some significant social problems,
No
and that's
shit.
part of the spectrum of safety,
No
security,
shit,
and welcoming for all. So that's what that's about. But today we're going to start the conversation internally, because your feedback is really important as well. Not just the citizens and the customers who use our system and pay taxes into it, but you as well. So so we really want to get your feedback. I'm now going to hand it over to Bernie Bottomley.
Bottomley, yeah.
Bernie, are you on the call?
That's Roberto.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Here's Bernie.
And thanks for giving us the opportunity.
They're all at home, man. He's making he's probably at 200,000 by now. Doug's at 350,000, so Bernie may be at 250. I don't know what the current pay scales are, but Doug is at 350 last we looked, and we read the budget, and he was scheduled to receive $400,000 in this fiscal year.
The time to talk with all of you about this project of reimagining security and safety on the Trimet system. As Doug mentioned, it's incredibly important, and Trimet has a core value of addressing and ensuring the safety of our riders, but also our employees, the frontline employees, the operators.
I don't think they listen to the scanner.
The on-street service folks, the supervisors and others who were out there interacting with customers. Your safety is incredibly important to us, and one of the key issues that we pay attention to. And
if your safety was incredibly important, they would have had those bus shields in a year ago. Okay, before the COVID, there was the problem of operator attacks.
And make sure that we're addressing. But we also know that our customers want to make sure that the system is equitable, that we're treating everyone equitably and fairly, and even beyond that, projecting the image that there's fairness. And so addressing even those things that sometimes...
Aha! Projecting the image, you see? He just gave himself away.
Times people have a concern about, even though the facts may not support that.
The facts, yeah. The facts.
As some of you may be aware, Trimet's actually done a lot of work in this area over the last couple of years. We've implemented a low-income fare program to try to make the system more accessible to those with limited
credit for
financial
that.
means.
It's better than nothing.
We have more than 30,000.
Their low-income fare program, by the way, is shit compared to Seattle. Okay.
Folks signed up for that program today. It's one of the most successful of its kind in the country. We've worked with the Oregon legislature to change state law so that fare violations are no longer a criminal. You can't.
Wrong. Okay, don't lie, man. Okay, if you don't take care of your Trimet citation in 90 days, it goes to the courts just like it used to be. Okay, they've added this extra step. You can resolve it without the court, but you have to do that. If you don't do that, it goes back to the court. And there's no hearings at Trimet, by the way. If you want to appeal your citation, you send in a written statement, and that's it. There's no actual court for you to appear at. Nobody tells you that, of course.
No one can be arrested or put in jail for violating Trimet's fare code.
What?
Which was a concern among some in the
so
community.
So they did change
we brought
that
on new
then,
kinds
since
of
that
security
woman,
staff that are really...
Anna Del Rio. Okay, so they don't arrest you anymore? Okay, they find something else. You know how the cops are, you know. This is a police state, and don't think otherwise. They're never going to defund the police. It's just a ruse.
Really highly trained in dealing with and de-escalating situations with some of our most difficult and challenging customers. And then finally, we've commissioned 2 outside studies of Trimet's fair enforcement activities to really get a third party to look at it in an independent way and answer the question about whether there's any bias in the way that Trimet's fair enforcement activities affect different.
And you know how this plays out, right? It depends on who you're dealing with. I mean, you know, it depends on the fair inspector. It depends on the cop. You can make all the nice policies and procedures, but if people don't follow them, which we know they don't in many, many cases, what good is it? This is government we're talking about here. Government is not accountable for its actions. And there's nothing you as a citizens can do about it.
Different groups, people of color, low income, and so forth. And you know, one of the things that those studies have found is that there's no systemic bias in the way that our system is set up, which is incredibly gratifying. But even with all of that work, of course, there's always more room for self-reflection, improvement, and conversations with the community about how they'd like to see the system structured. And of course, in these times, that's even more important than ever. So we've embarked on a pretty broad-based.
You know what you're seeing here? I hope you understand this. These are the elites. These are the elite Trimet people who run the Trimet. They have control every aspect of the money and the public policy. And these people here, none of them actually use the Trimet, but they're part of the elite structure. And it's not unusual to Trimet. This is everywhere. This is the same exact thing everywhere. The elites of the United States control all aspects of government. It's basically corporate America now. It's, you know, corporate. It's a corporate government. It serves corporate interests and the interests of the rich. And we're just out here, you know, they're tolerating us. And they give you the flowery language, you know, how great everything is. You know, it's like, you can listen to Trump and you'll hear from him how great everything is. They all use the same playbook is what I'm trying. It's the same playbook for all of them. Always tout your horn, never admit any weakness, never admit any fault. Everything's great.
Wide-ranging reevaluation of our safety and security systems. And a big part of that is community outreach, having conversations.
You know, regarding the fairs, you know, nobody's ever really mentioned the fact that you could check the fares before people get on and avoid this whole fucking thing. Why has nobody ever mentioned that? Because the fairs are set up to entrap citizens into the web of the corrections police state, the whole complex. I mean, if they had the fare inspectors sitting there checking fares before people got on, we wouldn't have a problem with fare evasion. But they don't do that. They do it so that they can trap you. It's a trap system. All right.
Conversations with folks from all walks of life with our employees. And one of the things I want to ask you all to do is in the coming weeks, there'll be an opportunity for you to participate in a survey to help us understand what you face and how you feel about it.
Yeah, here's another one of their surveys. You know, where we know about this, right? I mean, these surveys are basically tools of propaganda. They word them in such a way to get the outcomes that they want. And this last one is worded that way too. If you looked at it, this whole police thing, these are not surveys that are independent. They're cleverly disguised methods of propaganda.
Security and safety at Trimet, and we really, really need your feedback and input on that, particularly those of you who interact with the public on a regular basis. So look for that in the next.
Now you're going to get all different opinions from operators. There's no one opinion of operators. Some operators will kill them all. They want everybody to pay and they want everybody to abide by all the rules. And there's others that are more, okay, live and let live. You know, do what you want when you're on the bus. Don't bother me. That's how I used to be. You know, do what you want back there. Behind the yellow line is another world. It's not my world. And there's other drivers that want to enforce everything. It just depends on who you're dealing with. There's no uniformity anywhere there.
next couple of weeks. John Gardner, who's our Director of Transit Equity, Inclusion, and Community Affairs, is leading this effort. He's taking some well-deserved time off. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to John's project team, who can walk us through how the project is moving forward. They'll update us on the research, community outreach, and
all this bureaucratic nonsense, man. It's so removed from reality of everyday people. These people are in another world. You can just listen to them, and it's obvious that they really don't know what's going on. They just spit back what they want you to hear. It's just like it's exactly like listening to Trump. Okay, it's exactly the same.
Engagement efforts that are underway. And there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roberto Gutierrez, who's going to lead us through the presentation. Roberto?
Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Doug, for this opportunity to talk about Trimet's reimagining public safety efforts. Good morning, everyone. Since the senseless killings of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and most recently George Floyd, this country is candidly discussing issues of race.
He's reading. Here's Roberto Gutierrez, Trimet's, they put these faces in high places, and they think that should be sufficient to actually deal with. Well, let's listen to him.
Safety and equity. We are witnessing these conversations across the country and here regionally on a local level. Next slide, please. Trimet is inherently part of this conversation as the system stretches across 3 counties in multiple cities.
Well, they got little pictures and everything.
Next slide, please.
Why don't you control the slide?
Earlier this year in June, Doug announced 3 initiatives that would take effect starting July 1, 2020 of the new fiscal year.
Here it is. Establish
First,
a panel.
Trimet would announce that it would divest $1.8 million in existing police contracts and invest that money into piloting a mobile crisis intervention team.
And that's important to understand how he unilaterally, Doug said, I'm going to change this 1 point. You understand how he's controlling everything, this one man. He can make that decision. I can take 1.8 million from this budget and I can put it in that budget just on my whim. And that's what he decided, and this is what he decided he was going to do. And nobody needs a panel of local and national experts, okay? Nobody needs any of that. The experts is why everything is fucked up. Anybody that's been involved with the policy as of now should be not part of the conversation. As you can see, what they've been doing is all wrong. But, it's an industrial complex. And so they'll keep on getting pay and they'll get promotions. And nothing will change because nothing ever changes. It's always the same. A lot of this fucking nonsense that they just talk about forever and nothing ever changes. And the money goes into their pockets and all the other people. All of these are 6-figure salaried people.
To address mental health and behavioral health issues. Next, Trimet would conduct community-wide listening sessions from stakeholders to gather feedback on how to provide security and safety on the system.
Go ahead.
And finally, Trimet would establish a Transit Safety Advisory Committee to advise the agency on public safety best practices. Today's conversation will focus on the last 2 initiatives. Next slide, please. Starting last month and over the next few months, we partnered with the Coalition of Communities of Color and DHM Research to
DHM again.
A variety of stakeholders.
DHM, boy, they're the insiders. They do all the studies, all the surveys, all the research. That's the pork barrel. They get all the pork from all the different governmental agencies.
From frontline employees to community-based organizations and thought leaders.
Thought leaders.
We're researching internal
thought leaders. Who the fuck is a thought leader? Nobody tells me what to think. They want to talk to people, talk to real people. Pull them right out of pull them out of the ditch. Get some of those people that are in the ditch on your committee.
Data relating to public safety and identifying best practices from external resources. Our engagement and findings will inform the Transit Safety Advisory Committee that will begin meeting toward the end of the month in September. Towards next month in September. Next, Carl Green will discuss some of our research efforts that's currently underway, and you'll hear a few more presenters after Carl. Next slide, please.
Good morning, my fellow Trimet colleagues. I'm excited to share some updates and some more context surrounding the robust research efforts being carried out by internal staff across several departments and divisions, as well as several research consultants. I wanted to say
the consultant class. See, this is a big fucking pork barrel for all these people. It's just another pork barrel for them, man.
Thanks to the executive directors Marla and Bernie, as well as Bibiana McHugh, Tom Markgraf, John Bell, Pat Williams, and many others that gave the green light to leverage their staff time and expertise to partake in this project alongside
I'm sure they're so busy
Equity,
sitting at
Inclusion,
home
and Community Affairs
What a joke.
Department. As you're reading the screen before you, you will note that the goal of this external research is about transit systems, promising practices with a focus on public safety and equity.
They're going to make promises to you, just like a politician. We're going to change things. It's going to be better this time. Guess what? They're lying.
The outcome is to understand what's working well across the country by interviewing.
And they'll say, well, Al's just negative. He's just negative. I'm just negative. No, I'm not negative. I know the way it is, okay? I'm 66 years old here, going on 60. I've seen how this works over and over and over and over.
Like or similar size agencies. This peer review, with equity in mind, will afford the opportunity to compare their approach to public safety and security to our...
If they cared about equity, that would be a fareless transit or a $1 transit, something very reasonable. That would be equitable, okay? You know, free transit passes for people with no income. They don't offer any free transit passes. You have to pay no matter who you are. Even if no money, no income, nowhere to live, you still got to pay.
Our own, as well as identify areas to learn from, to improve upon, and to localize where it makes sense. Jamie Surface, our senior coordinator for fair policy, has led the efforts in interviewing these agencies alongside with capacity support from Big Squirrel, which is a local certified firm. Besides collecting information on organizational structure, training, use of performance metrics, and their use of technology, a primary focus of the interview is to gain an understanding of the type of community partnerships that they've developed, as well as the level of community engagement utilized to inform their training, practices, and procedures.
It's a pork barrel.
These are important questions to ask as they correspond with discovering promising practices that will guide us to make our system more safe, welcoming, and equitable for all. This endeavor is yet again an example of Trimet's leadership and coveted willingness to meet the expectations of our riders and our community. Next slide, please. Concurrently, we are driving forward with an extensive research with a central focus on system outcomes related to code violations, such as warnings, fare citations, exclusions, and other citations. Dr. Brian Reinauer of Portland State University is the principal researcher of this project. The goal here is to orient the Transit Safety Advisory Committee with historical and current data on the types of incidents and challenges occurring on our system. The ability to carry out this research from a data collection and reporting standpoint is in large part due to the time and effort of Justin Dillon, our Fair Enforcement Manager.
Okay, does anybody care what he's talking about? Because I don't even have the slightest idea what he's talking
Connor
about.
Toth, Aaron Hamilton, and Nathan Jones, and myself, where we're exploring other data sources to supplement the work of Dr. Reinauer. Specifically, we are looking at regional crime data at the county and city level to better depict the types of crimes and other activities surrounding our system. There's also the service improvement process data set or database that's managed by our customer service department. We're taking a look at the data within that database to better understand the types of calls for service we are receiving that are related to public safety. Next, we're looking at evaluating the National Crime Survey data to assess crime prevalence estimates and incident rates at the national level. And lastly, we're hoping to leverage some of the accident incident database reports or ACID reports that Janelle White is compiling on employee assaults. The benefit of pulling in various reports and data sets are to provide a fuller picture of the types of issues happening
in-depth discussions of public safety on Trimet. They'll be led by moderators with a 2-hour format. They'll be online, of course, as we are in the COVID era.
2 for Rider Club.
And we'll have about 8 people each, so we have a chance to hear from everyone.
Whatever.
So far, we've booked 5. 2 for our Riders Club members, 1 for honored citizens, including those eligible for low-income fare, 1 for the Transit Equity Advisory Committee, TEAC, and 1 for the Committee on Accessible Transportation.
I mean, it's just a whole bunch of
these 5 will all be led by DHM Research.
DHM again!
And additionally,
another contract.
they're
going to cut your service, but they got money for this, man. It's just painful to watch this stuff.
Conducting their own focus groups and reporting back. We'll be providing them with a content guide and a moderator guide, as well as a report template, so it'll be easy to synthesize everything and pull it together for the Transit Safety Advisory Committee. Additionally, we will be having some focus groups for Trimet employees. These are still in the works and will be coming soon. We're still determining just how many we'll have and who all will be included, but we'll be especially interested in hearing from our frontline staff who are...
You know, you can't blame Trimet for all of this. I mean, some of these drivers don't really understand what to do. I mean, they don't understand how to stay out of trouble. That's one of the bigger problems for driver safety is they don't understand what you want to enforce and what you don't. Basically, you don't want to enforce anything unless you have to. And they don't know that. It's unfortunate to have to listen to so many calls of shit that's happening to people because they're trying to enforce a fare, or they're trying to enforce a mask. Those are all avoidable incidents, okay? You can't change people's behavior. And if you try, you're setting yourself up for a problem.
Really the eyes and ears of our agency as part of these focus groups. Yeah. Next slide. And the other major component of our outreach is our online survey, which just actually launched on Monday. And we already have over 4,500 responses. There's a lot of interest in this topic. There are 35 questions on multiple topics: ridership level, perceived safety on Trimet, the importance of various types of security staff, our respondent support for alternative approaches to safety and security, their preference for more, the same, or less policing, support for fare enforcement, and their demographics. And peppered throughout this survey, we've got quite a few open-ended questions so that they can really elaborate on their views and their suggestions. And we'll be going through all of those open ends very carefully and coding them and providing some of the more important, insightful ones to the committee as well. And it's currently just available in English, but we are working to get it into Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, Russian, and others, and we'll be promoting it in all those languages through various channels. Next slide. So our outreach approach is extremely broad. In addition to being available on our website, the survey is going to be sent to many different stakeholder groups, including over our 70,000 Riders Club members. That email went out yesterday. Thanks to Tom Williams and team for help with that. The social media also has gone out, and we've gotten a great response from that. And we'll be sending to low-income fare participants, WorkSource Oregon, public housing partners, and on. A lot of different sources. And we'll be tracking with a unique URL link to for each of these groups so that we can see how our different constituents and partners feel about the issues and break it out as part of the analysis. And in the works right now, as Bernie mentioned, is an employee version of the survey. You will all be getting an email with a link to that within the next couple of weeks. And we really encourage you to participate in that. We really want to hear what you have to say This will also include opportunities for your open-ended feedback. And again, really especially hoping to hear from our frontline staff who have to deal with these issues on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I will hand it over to Scott. Thank you all.
Okay, who's Scott? Where's Scott?
Thanks, Madeline. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate
Scott,
the opportunity to be here. I'm going to talk about project communications.
Oh,
To support communications and have a central hub for the project information, we launched the ReImagining Public Safety and Security on Transit website last Wednesday. We'll take a look at it here, and thanks for pulling it up now, Jeff. So the page can be viewed at trimet.org/public safety. It informs people about why we're undertaking these important efforts, provides an overview of our plans through the fall.
All right, move it up.
The engagement effort.
Oh.
Next slide, please.
It takes a village. Oh, no.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone. This project is a pretty big endeavor. It's a huge undertaking. I really appreciate the devoted time across multiple departments here. I really want to extend special thanks to Carl, Madeline,
The
Scott,
entire elite
Martin
structure
Gonzalez,
is
Nathan.
on this.
Give
No, give me for
back to
that.
Doug real quick, and then we
Oh,
can
there
take
she
questions
is. It's our
from
favorite girlfriend.
advance employees that
She
sent
won't
them
be
in
seen
advance.
on the TV. I will not show
Thanks,
my
Dan.
family.
I really do want to thank this whole team. I think Roberto had a great list of all the folks up there, and it does take a community and a village to pull something like this off. I have this term I use with my wife, and it's called listening mode.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really the phase we're in. We provide a lot of great daily services out there, but part of an agency in changing times also has to be willing to listen. And we want to listen to you, to your viewpoints here. So there's a survey you've heard is coming out. Please do participate in it. We want to understand. And sometimes in our busy worlds, we miss things. There could be some really low-hanging fruit here that we can make adaptations and changes on. Some even maybe are structural, but we're not going to prejudge what that looks like. So we need everybody's contribution to this across the spectrum of internally. Our contractors provide great services for us, but as well as the citizens and our customers as well. So this is a great time to be listening, not just doing, particularly on a subject that is sensitive and raw and as important as this. So big thanks. And then I also want to thank, and I think a couple others have mentioned this, John Gardner's not here, not because he saw the task ahead of him and left town. He's here because he's on a very well-deserved vacation with his family. So I really want to thank John as well for his coordination on top of this.
I don't know what's so great about that guy. What's he actually done? I don't think he's done anything. It's just a bunch of paperwork, man. It's the usual paperwork. This whole bureaucracy here is in its own little world. It's not affecting anybody in the real world. They're in their own little world and they're doing their own little thing. It's got no trickle down to the real world.
This structure. So we need his experience and everybody else's to get through it. So big thanks to everybody. With that, if there are no questions, Deanne, if there are some, let's insert them in. And we've got this talented group here online. So if you don't have any now, feel free to be writing them in through
talented
Deanne.
group of bureaucats.
We'll try and get them in
doing
now.
nothing.
We'll get them later.
I'm getting paid a lot.
Deanne, let's just turn it open to just general questions. And back to you.
Okay, yeah, so we do, just in the time that you kind of wrapped up, we do have some chat box questions that are particular to this topic.
Let's go to those first.
Yeah, sure. So one employee asked, I'm assuming that there's GIS involved in this project? I don't know who from the project team wants to answer that.
GIS?
Yeah, this is Bernie. And obviously Madeline Steele, who was on the call, is deeply involved in that. And we do have some GIS data about hotspots in the system and overlay that with some of the crime statistics. So that'll be one of the elements that we look at in the research portion of the project.
Bernie, can you just define GIS for some people may not be familiar with that
what
term?
does it mean?
It's a way of essentially mapping different factors. In this case, could be crimes or incidents on the system.
Okay, great, thanks.
Great.
I think it's geographic
So
information systems.
Yeah, another chat box question is there anything more on the mobile crisis team plan?
Yeah, I can field that. So there are a couple of different models that cities and transit districts use around the country. Not a lot of them, but there's a couple where the transit system has access to a team of folks who are trained in dealing with folks who are in mental health crisis, drug and alcohol use and addiction issues, folks who are in,
I don't know. I think it's
homeless at the city.
I don't think
would be run in the city, but also
whatever. Keep going.
We've taken out some of the existing police and safety security area. The estimated dollars are it's $1.8 million. Some of that is reduction of officers. I think it's about 6 from our complement.
They were never filled. Those positions were never filled. Okay, I read that in one of the articles about this. He's so not a reduction. You never filled them in the first place. So yeah, they turn this information around to sound like something that it's not.
In that $1.8 million, and somewhere this may go $500,000, $750,000. We'll don't know. We're going to spend what we need to on this because it's such an important topic, but that's generally the framework and it's within budget.
All right, another chat box question. Forgive me if I missed this, but how would the result of the survey be shared with the public? So Madeline, I don't know if you want to take that, or Bernie?
Yeah, I think I can field that one as well. The results will be compiled into a report that will go to the what we're calling a Blue Ribbon Committee, a group of experts that Roberto mentioned.
A group of experts. So that's really the problem. That's really the problem, is they're using the same. These people that call themselves experts have created this nightmare we have, and I keep harping on this. You can't change the system from within the system. This is all smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. Sorry, but don't fool yourself. It's like saying, oh, we'll get rid of Trump and Biden will save us. No, he won't. Yeah, feel good to get rid of that boil, that open pussy sore fucking Donald Trump. It'd been good to get rid of him. But if you expect Biden to do anything that's going to actually help you as a person, he's not going to do that. I mean, Trump hasn't affected me. Has he affected you? He's been horrible for immigrants, and the racists have come out of their rock. He's been horrible. But as far as my life, no. Your life, probably not. And so you're just changing one personality for another.
Community-based folks from here in Portland, as well as some national figures.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Folks like Bev Scott.
Bev Scott. Here we go. They're going to pay her a bunch of money to come here. She's going to get $100,000 or something to come here. This is a pork barrel. Okay, it's a fraud, and I don't want to watch any more of this because it makes me pissed off. And that's enough. It's long enough anyway.